Here's the
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
You know the thing.
The
All
thing.
right.
It's the thing.
It's the thing. It's a
Let's
Jersey
use let's use the
thing.
thing.
All right. So we'll do a countdown, John.
Shoot.
Watch
Oh
Five,
jeez.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of The Jersey Alchemist. I am your host, Dr. John Gerard Galucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo. What's up, Al?
There's a lot up lately. Not necessarily with me, but there's a lot that's going on, and it just seems to be, all fitting into the big puzzle. There's another piece of the ugly puzzle that's kind of emerging, and we're going to see that when the puzzle pieces are all together and the picture comes up, I think it's going to reveal the monstrous evil that is present in the world, that's controlling societies all over the planet. And so things don't happen for no reason. Things don't happen by chance. All of the stuff that you're hearing about on the news and watching on the news, I think all of it is being prescribed and all of it's being done intentionally.
I agree 100%. Let's not forget, John. I mean, evil
Yeah.
only has power for a short time. And then
Right.
good always wins. But that evil, when it grabs, whether it's, current events or something
Yeah.
going, it's like a stranglehold. And you feel like it's never going to let go. But sooner
Yeah.
or later, the light
The light comes
always
through.
comes
Absolutely.
out.
You want to let the wheel of fate and destiny.
Let's see what the Wheel
Yeah,
of Fate and Destiny
let's see
has
what
to say
happens
today.
on our Jersey wheel of fate and destiny. Do it, brother.
It's time for a boardwalk wheel spin.
Yep.
A little too much there.
Love that sound. What's it say, bro?
School safety.
Get out.
School safety.
Holy. Oh my God. That is. All right. How does that happen? How does that happen? We were talking about that. How could you not talk about that when we first came in today? Holy
Now,
smokes.
before we
School
go down-
safety. That's creepy.
Before we go down any rabbit holes, which are inevitably going to pop up.
We live in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. We really do. It's a little dirty, a little dusty, but
Right.
I enjoy them. What's more part of America than sending your kids off to school? Leaving them at the bus stop, dropping them off, getting them ready. I mean, that's part of every day. That's in the fabric of society, bringing your kids to school.
Yeah, even all the way back to the days of the, not we're not talking about Plymouth Rock and the Pilgrims. We're talking about when there were old, settler towns here and there, and they had the one-room schoolhouse. All the
Oh,
way back
sure.
to days like what was that show with Michael Landon, the
Little House on the
Little House on the
Prairie.
Prairie, right? They had one schoolhouse, and it was K through 8, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
rang the school
one,
bell.
right. You think that the teacher back then was talking about deviant sexuality in that schoolhouse? I think if he or she did, they'd be hanging from a tree.
So you agree? Yeah, they would be. You agree then? That's part of everyday fabric. We did it as kids. Our parents, excuse me, got us to school. We walked to school. School was just from September to June. It was all about school. What'd you learn in school? Your parents ask you, what'd you do in school? What'd you learn in school?
Yeah.
We were studying for tests for school. School is the foundation and the fabric next to family and church and God. I think those three things: God, family, school, spiritually, the family unit, and then intellectually, learning how to cope, learning how to get through life, the relationships you have in school. I mean, it's everything. So what could be worse than leaving your kids off, dropping them off at school, making them breakfast for school, making sure they have their homework ready for school, picking up their friends for school, and as a parent, you're dropping them off for school, and you expect to see them at the end of the day. And then some animal decides to shed as much evil and darkness into a whole nation's life. So, school safety. What do you think about school safety? Where do we start with school safety?
I'm absolutely gobsmacked and stunned that the Jersey Alchemist Wheel of Fate and Destiny came up with school safety. You know, we change the tags because there's only 20 spots on that wheel, and we kind of use them up, you know. And so you change them. I have over 100 more different categories, and I changed that last week. Last week. I mean, I'm amazed that it came up to that, and everything happens for a reason. I have a lot to say about this. I have a lot to say. So,
where do we start? Safety in the schools. Is it adequate enough, John, do you feel, if parents, I mean, we have a lot of people that volunteer their time, school moms, I mean, maybe a couple dads, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think school parents would be enough for school safety.
well, how do you want to dissect, excuse the surgical reference, how do you want to dissect or tackle this issue right now on this episode? Should we talk about the seeds of violence and murder in a society first? So, in other words, this is where we think it comes from, and then we go to how it manifests and potentially what to do about it. Should we look at it like that in a stepwise fashion?
Absolutely. I support that 100%.
Okay, so what are the origins? What's the ideology? Where does a violent act come from? And I think that a violent act begins with thought. So it's a thought that comes up in somebody's consciousness, and it may be a spontaneous thought, or it may be something that's chronically wearing away at somebody for weeks, for months, for years.
John, are you born with that thought or those thoughts, or do you think due to your situation in life, those thoughts arise?
I think both are true. I think that we're all born. I know we're all born with a fully intact ego. A newborn baby has an ego and it's intact. It's already there and it's waiting to kind of do its ego thing. And certain people are predisposed to defaulting to the dark side. Some people are predisposed to seeing everything that happens as, this is happening to me. The world is screwing me. And then it starts to build over and over and over again. And maybe if there's nobody in their life to kind of outsmart their dark side and talk them down off the ledge, then it just festers and it grows and grows and grows, and then it becomes its own ugly monster, right? Why does anybody choose the dark side? And the dark side can manifest in many, many different ways. I remember reading that book, I guess co-written by Sammy the Bull Gravano, where, you know, he said he grew up as a kid in a normal family in, where's he from? Gravesend, Brooklyn,
Yeah.
right across, you know, right. But there was something about the guys that hung out outside of certain bars and taverns and social clubs where they started kind of stroking him. They started kind of making him feel good, hey Sammy this, hey Sammy that, blah 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 blah, and he kind of he was thriving on the acknowledgement,
The attention.
the attention, the attention. Do I think that he was a bad seed from the egg? I'd like to think no. And it's not just some Italian American or American of an Italian background in New York City. It's people here, there, and everywhere. It's what happened to the Aurora movie theater shooter? What happened to the guy that they said was named Adam Lanza, whose father apparently worked in a government um, neurobiology experimental lab? Oh, there's a real interesting point for you. What happens to the young African American kid in the inner city who the only people that maybe pay attention to him and give him the time of day are the characters outside of a club?
Gang members.
Gang members.
Gang members, John, it's a fact. Gang members will recruit kids that come from broken homes,
Of course.
that have no
Rudder. They got no rudder.
That's
No
right,
rudder.
no leadership, no rudder, no direction. And because, like Sammy the Bull, great point. Like Sammy the Bull, getting that acknowledgement from the older gentleman, these gang members, only a couple of years, you're 14, kid's 16, 18, that's like a god to you,
Right.
and if they show you a little attention, you're going to follow them anywhere.
Yeah.
And to prove yourself, you're going to do whatever it takes.
Right.
So, here we go now. So, if somebody's born with bad thoughts or is thinking bad thoughts, and now they're easily influenced,
Right.
because there's a breakdown at home. Is that what we think it is? There's a breakdown at home?
Well,
Could
you
that
know
be it?
what? That kid is getting more feedback that lights them up from elsewhere than they are from inside the home.
Sure.
And I'm going to jump in right now and say there's evil in the world. There is evil. Evil exists. Now, my hardcore, really hardcore conservative Christian friends would say, never even say the word evil because just speaking of it energizes it and gives it its own legs to run and walk and crawl. Well, guess what? Here we are again with awareness, and if we all want to, the three monkeys, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. If we all want to act like that, pretty soon we're going to be completely encased in the stuff that we refuse to see. So evil comes in the form of energy. There are demons. There is an evil force on this planet, and what does it do? It creeps into the hearts and minds of people that the evil finds susceptible. So it's not just the kid from the Midwest. It's
John,
not,
let's
yeah,
go further into that. That's a great point. So it's not just a kid,
right.
that has a broken home. Maybe mom and dad are both working.
Of course.
So and they're working. There's nobody home, latchkey kid.
Yeah.
So that's a great point because it's not just the kid from a broken home. They could have a mother and father, a
Right.
brother and sister, but you
Yeah.
come home alone and your house is empty. What are you going to do?
Right.
You know?
No, absolutely. And, you can be convinced early on, and I've heard this said, and I don't think it's just the ancient Hebrews. I think it's a lot of ancient peoples. They knew early on, long thousands and thousands of years ago, that if you brainwash a child continuously the correct way, right? By the time they're 5 or 6 years old, you've basically downloaded everything that you needed to download into their computer, that is their heart and their mind, their persona, that'll stay with them for the rest of their lives. So people are like a blank slate, an empty slate, an empty canvas to be written on. Your life and your heart and your mind is extremely impressionable. Babies are new computers. and no one has programmed that computer yet. So evil will creep into the hearts and minds of children, into the hearts and minds of teenagers and young adults and people that are middle-aged and over the hill, and it's already taken its toll by the time people are old geezers, right? So what happens in the mind of a young kid who's 17 or 18 who has aspirations to become a politician? And when somebody asks them, well, what do you want to do with your life? And they joke around, but they're not kidding, because remember, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Oh, I want to rule the world. I want to take over the world. You think that's a joke? Oh, no. That's coming from somewhere deep down inside that person. And I say the only people that really want to rule and own the world, I think that's a primal dark notion. It's a primal dark thought. I really do. Do you think the politicians that set the tone and the flavor of a nation, do you think they're there in a transparent fashion? Do you think that they're there to dot their I's and cross their T's? Do you want change? Oh my God, how many times have we heard, do you want change? Has anything changed? No. Things have gotten worse. For the
better.
Things
for the worse.
Things
rather.
have gotten worse.
Yeah.
Things have gotten worse. So what I'm saying is evil will creep its filthy tentacles into the hearts and minds of children and adults alike. It's there. And unless that is ferreted out, unless it's dissected and pulled out like a cancerous tumor, that person's going to follow that path by and large.
All right, John. So children are vulnerable, okay? They're the most vulnerable of society.
Yeah.
All right. So evil creeps in, influences them.
Yeah.
Okay? Whether it's a gang member, whether it's the older guys down the street, whether it's social media, whether it's television, whatever it's that old kid that hangs out in court, whatever it is.
Right.
Right. So whose responsibility is it to pick up on that? Why? All right. I want to find out how many people are asleep at the wheel. Okay. You know what? Because it seems
people.
Well, it seems like with children, we're passing them along for somebody else's. Oh no, they're your responsibility. They're your responsibility. They're the school's responsibility. They're the town's responsibility. Who's responsible to pick up? Like something's not right here.
Right. Do you think that Hillary Rodham Clinton is a transparent, altruistic soul? If you really believe that, now's your time to stick it right between my eyes and leave that in the comments, because hey, who knows? Maybe you're right. Okay? But when she writes a book which is designed to have purpose and punch upon the populace, it takes a village to raise a child. Bullshit. Bullshit. I gave my bullshit button away, right? No, it doesn't take a village to raise a child. It takes a family to raise a child. If you want to say that the village is an extended family, okay, absolutely fine. But it's not the same thing as the village you had in mind, Hillary Rodham Clinton. There's no way, because you are just a feckless bunch of coercive souls that are here to pour like tar over everybody, the evil that just pours out of you. Pours out of you. Here you are, a world figure, and you're creating lies and destruction. You're backing regime change and wars and sending Americans to their death. I mean, you have got to be kidding me. May God have mercy on your soul. Yeah. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just want
to. I can really get lost in the rant. I really can.
No, because this is where I feel, we haven't even touched school safety yet. this is, to me, John, this is the root of the problem right
Well, that's
now.
what we were talking about.
Yeah,
Where,
you said.
the root, then how it
Right,
manifests and
yeah.
what to do about it.
So now,
So we may go over 30 minutes, gang. Sorry.
who's asleep at the wheel? I want to know. To me, it's the immediate family. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
There really is no immediate family anymore. Let me guess. Dad's working 14-hour days. Mom's working her career. Your older brother and sisters are out doing sports or whatever. And now you're home all alone. Grandma passed away.
Right.
Your aunt and uncle are too busy. They moved. They're divorced. Everybody's separated. You don't see your family anymore on Sundays like we used to get together every
Yeah,
Sunday.
sure.
That's gone. So now this person who's obviously easily influenced and has that missing link that some wire's not connected where he feels slighted and the anger starts to build.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it happens. Who's going to pick up on that? Who's going to say, wait a minute, there's an issue here and I have to address it? Or is everybody just too damn busy? Now you got me screaming.
Okay.
It's a serious topic.
It's a very serious topic. And, you know, I'm going to implore the viewers, this is what it means to network, okay? Go on the internet and look up a former movie producer, director named Aaron Russo. He was a guy from Brooklyn who went into the entertainment film industry. He did a couple of, you know, notable films. I can't quite remember the name right now, but he was an item and an entity, and I think he was tagged by the Rockefellers because they saw him. And here's the key, gang. I've said this before. When the elites think that you're an influencer, they'll use you. And when they're done using you, right. So the Rockefellers approached Aaron Russo, and he became very good friends with one of the brothers, whatever. He says right on a YouTube video that one night they were drinking scotch and smoking cigars, and his friend, I think it was a Nicholas Rockefeller, who I can't really know who Nicholas Rockefeller was, wasn't one of the more advertised first names. He says, yeah, I'm going to tell you how the world works. And he went on to tell him, he goes, you know who founded, incepted Women's Lib, the Women's Liberation Movement? He says, we did, the Rockefellers. And you know, Aaron Russo was kind of like, you know, okay. You know why we did that? Okay, I guess you're going to tell me. Well, we did it because we've already, through the industrialized era, taken the fathers out of the home so that they can go to work for us, right? And now they're out of the immediate sphere of influence on their children. They're no longer out there plowing fields or tending to the animals or fixing the roof on a house that they built with their children. So the kids are at home and the fathers are in the city, so to speak, working for the man. And that leaves the mother as the main influencer of the children. Well, guess what? How do we, brother Rockefellers, how do we completely steal and coerce the next coming generations? How do we do that? We're going to do it through the educational system, through television, through radio. And how do we do that? Well, we got the fathers out of the immediate sphere of influence. Now we're going to take the mothers out. Boom, women's lib. The women are going to college. The women are working jobs. Now, listen, there's a good reason for why women should be equal partners with men. There's a good reason. There's a good reason for a lot of things, but then there are nefarious reasons for the same thing. It's right? I mean, so that's a nefarious reason to procreate an entire nation of kids who are now being raised and coerced by the state. Why? Because mothers are now too distracted to be their influencers. That's not a good reason to have women in the workforce. That's a shit reason. It's an evil, nefarious reason. However, it's a great thing to have women go to college and become educated and be part of the workforce. And they should be all the way up to presidents and prime ministers. Understood. That's what I feel. Get off my back. I just told you how I feel. But it can't be done for nefarious reasons. So there you go. So who does that leave? It leaves the fox guarding the hen house. And who's the fox? The government. The government's the fox. And let's talk about how the intel communities infiltrated the three major television networks, because they did, and they have legacies. So Mike Wallace, the guy that we thought was such slick shit on 60 Minutes for years and years, how does he carry on now that he's dead? Through his little douchebag son, Chris Wallace. Wow. Wow. And he was like this with Henry Kissinger. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And they all had a global agenda that they were promulgating, that they were pushing slowly, slowly, slowly behind the scenes, never ever letting it out to the general population at all. Following?
I'm following.
Right?
Absolutely. John, I recently talked to a contact at work, young kid, at my age, everybody's young. Nice career. He's expecting his first child. Okay. His wife, his beautiful wife, he showed me a picture. I think another month or two, they're going to have their first baby, their firstborn. They're very excited. She has a bigger and better career than him. Okay. Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's awesome. The point is that they're both really busy people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having, to me and my generation, because I'm an old timer, it seems like people are saying, we got the house, the car, we need one of those, what do they call? Oh, kids.
Yeah.
Let's have one of them.
Yeah.
And they have a child.
Yeah.
He told me they found a great, for a ridiculous price. It's so expensive, childcare. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's probably covering his salary. So they found a great place that after 2 months, 8 weeks old, they're dropping their baby off.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Right.
6 to 6.
Yeah.
And that's who's going to rate. And he couldn't have been more excited.
Right.
And you know what? If that's what this generation is doing, I apologize for being the old man in the room. Okay. But if that's what that generation is doing, I guess you're just going with the flow like everybody else.
Yeah.
But that's not how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
I know your mother sacrificed and your father. Yeah. I know my parents sacrificed. And I know I tried to sacrifice when it came to raising my kids and going without for a long time. Yeah. So somebody could be home and watch those kids, at least raise them to the best of our capabilities. Right. I wasn't putting it in anybody else's hands.
Right.
I was going to let some nursery, and let's face it, these nursery school teachers, they're fantastic. I mean, to watch 20 kids, that must be impossible.
Right.
But guess what? To them, it's a job. It's like, oh, look, it's 5 o'clock. I have to go.
Right. And so where does it go from the fact that the fathers were removed from the immediate moment-to-moment sphere of influence? And, that old famous phrase, wait till your father gets home.
Ooh.
Well, guess what? Pop ain't home now, so screw you, Ma. Really? So Pop wasn't home. It's wait till your father gets home. And now it's wait till you get home tonight to see your mother and father, because now they're in a daycare. Okay, fine. All right, great. Except there's a reason to do it, for a good reason, and then there's a shitty, nefarious reason, and I don't want to keep repeating myself. But what happens now? The Rockefellers said you change a nation in 2 generations. Well, they've been at this for many, 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 many generations. Many generations. And now through the power of the media, which is commercials and products and movies and cartoons and radio and the music industry and Hollywood, Everybody is completely mind controlled. Everybody. They've taken us right down the merry path, and it's kind of like you know who the politicians and the world elite are? They're hyenas. And if you ever watch one of those animal videos on, you know, a mother rhino with her baby, right? One on one, she could probably take out 10 hyenas. But when she's trying to protect her baby, the hyenas spin her around and spin her around, and she chases one this way and chases one that way, and one gets aggressive and bites the baby, and she chases that one, and now three have the baby, and before you know it, the mother's so dizzy, the mother's so distracted, the mother's so fucking exhausted with out there trying to make ends meet and to keep up with the Joneses, which has all been manufactured and created by the hyenas, that the hyenas drag the baby off and tear its bowels out and eat it and chew on its bones. And it's no different than what the world elite are doing to the populace of not just this nation, all over the world. They're feckless hyenas. And until you understand that, they'll keep doing it. That's that foments. That's where it comes from. That foments disillusion and hatred and animosity and hopelessness. And then there are people who truly have organic psychiatric conditions. Do you think that how many of those people that have ugly psychiatric conditions, how many of them legally own weapons? I would say not as many as you would think.
All right, so we went to the foundation.
We went to the foundation. How does it manifest? It manifests in people growing up and having utter dismay and despair and hopelessness, and if they come from a family where there was a father and a mother, right, and everything still added up to hopelessness and despair, then they start to despise the home life that they had. And then these are the people that knock off their grandmothers or kill their mother and father. And you know something? The Menendez twins, weren't they from Jersey?
No,
Yeah. Yes, they were. Sure they were. I think they were from like Princeton or something. They're proof, living proof that we're not talking about just, you know, inner city, poor, destitute kids. Those two were very wealthy, preppy kids who apparently murdered their own mother and father. They had to have it their way. So it manifests in a powder keg. A powder keg. And maybe it manifests as some 18-year-old who has all of the wrong thoughts that have been stewing and fomenting in their head and their heart and their mind, that they take a weapon and they go into a supermarket or to a store and they shoot up a bunch of people, God forbid. Or now, geez, another one, a copycat, sees all of the coverage it gets and the kerfuffle that everybody's talking about, and they've had it and they can't stand it anymore, and boom, they grab a weapon, or they're given a gun by an accomplice that's behind the scenes, because the Aurora movie theater shooter was not alone, and he shoots up a school and kills how many kids? 15, 18, 19 kids?
19.
Good Lord.
19 and 2 teachers.
Good Lord. Now, where do I think this comes from? It comes from the seeds of discontent. It comes from the seeds of evil. It comes from a dark faction. You know, they said Satan's minions are prowling the earth looking for souls to devour. That may seem like, you know, biblical or spiritual pie in the sky, but it's true, people. It's true. If you think that your politicians that are there pulling dirty deals behind our backs to get their kids jobs for a foreign energy company, they're all there in service of themselves, people, and it's got to change. This is what evil manifests in children, in all stages and phases of life. But the people that have the most influence on the most of us are the people that are in power. And the people that are in power, how do you get there? Why do you strive to be in power? Why? How? If the rest of the world were altruistic, if the rest of the world, if the rest of the power-laden world were altruistic and transparent, then how would one dark, evil son of a bitch decide that they were going to go to Washington, or they were going to go to Ottawa, or they were going to go to some other seat of power in the world, and they were going to change everybody and coerce everybody? No, they'd probably run from those seats of power if everybody that was in that seat of power was altruistic and transparent and reverent to a greater God. But they're not, so they're attracted to it. Darkness attracts darkness.
Well said, as usual, John. Now let's talk about the actual school safety. I mean, I feel that if you've got enough money to send all over the country, to give yourself raises, you can find enough money to put security in the school. Whether it's metal detectors, armed guards, people have to be secure in the basic foundation of society,
Yeah.
bringing their kids to school.
Right.
You
Right.
know, some politician somewhere can find the money
Yeah.
and allocate it so our kids are safe.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be a thought, a discussion. It should be done.
Yeah, no, it should, I think we're at that point. Whether these horrible mass shootings are a construct of a nefarious covert agency, because of course that's always possible, okay? Whether that's the truth or whether this is truly just an organically produced lone psychopath with a toll to exact upon the world. You know, could be one, could be the other, could be a little bit of both. Um, if we can send $43 billion to the Ukraine to dump our extremely hard-earned dollars down a fucking rat hole, yeah, war, international conflict and war being the fucking rat hole, if we can do that, it's time, charity begins at home. Charity begins at home. And you know something? $43 billion goes a mighty long way. There is no reason why schools can have a security force. And no, not, a friend of mine years ago his dad owned a security company, pretty big security company that did like airports and big buildings and, that kind of thing, that magnitude. He said, oh, there's all levels of what a business will pay for in the line of security. I says, well, what do you mean? He says, well, he goes, there's just observe and report. He goes, so that's like the first line, observe and report. And then I think there is observe and respond and report. And then there are the armed security guards, like, the people that would be hired by a company like Brinks to be delivering and collecting fiat currency. And those guys are pretty well armed and they're in an armored car, right? So if we think that our children are more precious than a truckload of bullshit fiat dollars that are worthless, if we think our kids are more precious than fiat worthless dollars, and we put armed guards on those bullshit, feckless bullshit dollars that are issued by the corrupt, evil cabal that is the Federal Reserve, then we should have an armed security system that's taking careful watch over our children. That's how I feel about it. You know something? Most of the people that injure other people are either complete cowards because they because they know that they're going to ambush innocent, unarmed people with a weapon. That's, to me, that's a coward. That's the biggest coward in the world. But guess what? If that fucking coward thought that there was two people in a school that were armed to the teeth with body armor, you think they'd go in? No. They might as well just put the gun up to their own head and pull the trigger.
John, if you had to alchemize this video, how would you alchemize it?
Well, the alchemy has to go to the root, to the core of the core, to the ideology, meaning the very beginnings and cause, the root cause of the problem. So if you do an RCA, which is known as a root cause analysis, which is kind of like what we did today, you know, a real root cause analysis is very, very methodical, and it's lots of paperwork and it's steps. It's why did the shuttle, why did the Challenger explode? So they do a root cause analysis, and apparently it came down to some O-ring that leaked or wasn't seated the right way. If we did a root cause analysis on how these things happen, I think it would prompt us as a society to take measures and take steps to do what we can do. But beyond the end effector happenstance, like much earlier than putting armed guards in schools. It's already too late for that, okay? We'd like to avoid that, but if you go to the core of the core, I believe, and we've discussed this over and over again, that physical life on this third-dimensional existential plane has its basis and its platform in energy. Everything is energy. And energy conjures thought in sentient beings. And thought is the precursor to action. So if you want to avert a disastrous action, you have to stem the tide of the dark energy that causes the dark thought. To me, that's reverse engineering how something like a school shooting or a supermarket shooting happens, unless, of course, it's being prompted by a black op operation from a clandestine intelligence agency. And friends, that shit happens all the time. So, if these nefarious, terrible actions are the result, and we'll reverse engineer it, terrible happenstance, physical manifestation, injury and death and attack, oh, the humanities, take it back to somebody either spontaneously did this or they fomented it over months to years, and then before that, it began as a thought. And before that thought, it began as dark energy that was putting the dark thoughts into the hearts and minds of the people that can then take it and run with it. What's the answer? What's the answer to evil? What's the answer to darkness? The answer to darkness is the light. What is the light? It's God's river of love and light. And as angry as I can get, I'm exposing that side of myself on this podcast, The Jersey Alchemist, to make everybody aware of what the hell is going on out there, okay? Society isn't sliding down a shit chute just because. Oh my God. No, it's being done to us on purpose. It's an agenda from the dark ones that are steeped in evil. And the only way to fight that, to alchemize that, because there's no way that we can turn what happened into anything good. No. We have to reverse engineer it and do a root cause analysis and say it all comes back to the original thought. And the original thought is energy. And energy is either of the darkness or of the light, because apparently in this universe, you can't have one without the other. So, take the time. Take the time, instead of being aghast at what the news is trying to horrify you with or terrorize you with, take the time to pray and to meditate. Literally see the planet, right? Except for you flat earthers. Literally see the globe, the planet. And if you have a globe in the house, go sit in front of it when no one's in your face. Turn off the TV, turn off the computer, and look at the globe. And if you don't have a globe, go buy one, or turn on your laptop or your computer and pull up a picture of the globe. That's either a static picture or it's slowly spinning in space. And look at the globe and stare through the globe and picture yourself as the progenitor, the creator, the originator of purifying fire. The spiritualists will say it's the purifying purple flame. And I believe Archangel Michael purifies with the purple flame. Archangel Michael fights against evil, fights against Satan, took the head of Baphomet. Take that flame and literally singe the entire planet with the purple flame of love. And it doesn't destroy the planet. It burns off the evil. Put those images in your head, because that's the best kind of meditation you can come up with. You can meditate on, oh, please give me a raise so I can, have an easier time of paying my mortgage. That's all fine and dandy. But you know something? Meditate and purify the evil from this planet with that beautiful, loving, purifying purple flame. And I'm not kidding. I do this every single night. Yeah, the guy that can curse on the Jersey Alchemist, and the guy that can rant and rave and slam his hand and say these evil son of a bitches and F this and F that. Yeah, it makes a show. It makes a show, okay? If I sat here like a marshmallow, you wouldn't be watching. Please pray and meditate, because when we tip the energetic scales to the river of love and light, people, all of this ugly stuff gets left in the third dimension. The third dimension. Third dimension is a lower vibration. It's a lower frequency than the fourth or fifth dimension. I said it on a previous recent episode. I'm going to climb that ladder to the fifth dimension, because that's where we're going. Please come with me. Please come with me, because the people that believe that they own the third dimension, here they shall stay. And they will then be wallowing in their own muck and mire, while the rest of us rise above. Literally, the concept of rising above is a metaphorical way of saying elevate yourself, and remember the 3 E's of a production. It's educate, it's entertain, it's elevate. Elevate your frequency, understand what's happening, and the only way you can be effective at alchemizing the darkness in your world, the darkness in your life, the darkness on this planet, there's only one way you can alchemize that, because you are an alchemist. Not just us here, it's you. You need to be aware of where you don't want to be, and you need to have your sights on where you want to be. Raise your elevation, and you do that through prayer and meditation. Use your creativity. Use your emotions, people. God bless. See you again on the next episode of The Jersey Alchemist.
Great job, John, as usual. If you like what we're doing, people, press the like button and subscribe and tell your friends. Next time. Till next time. Peace.